Check 1 2.
Livermore Live Music presents Spotlight, shining a light on Livermore's incredible music scene. Here are your hosts, Rob Allen and Kevin Snyder.
Welcome, everybody. We're coming to you from the studios of Advanced Creative here in Livermore. Our guest today is the city of Livermore, and our very special guest, the Honorable John Marchand, Mayor of Livermore. Mr. Mayor, it's an honor to have you with us. Thank you so much for coming down.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. It really is. I love talking about our community.
Yeah, well, and we're going to do a lot of that. Thank you so much. Before we start, I just wanted to make a quick comment. You know, we've talked on this show a couple times before about how the strange quirks of fate, right? The flaps of butterfly wings that bring you to a place in your life. And I was going to mention, I don't know if you knew this, Kevin, but I originally wanted to be a monk, but I didn't get the chance.
Where's my soundboard?
Where's your stuff?
All
right, I apologize.
As well you should.
Yes. So here's what we want to talk about today. We'd like to get just a little personal background on you and, you know, kind of your life history and how you got to where you are today. We want to talk to you a little bit about music and any musical ties and connections that you might have. But, you know, move more to the city of Livermore and especially the growth of Livermore over the last couple decades or so and where that's going. We want to talk to you about Measure P, which we know is an important topic on your desk these days.
For progress?
Yeah. And then we'll, you know, move around a little bit and talk about plans for the future, both your own personal plans and plans for the city. And then at the end, we'll make sure that you have a chance to get the last word, talk about anything else you want to talk about that we didn't get a chance to go to. So let's get started with you. Tell us a little bit about, you know, where you grew up and how you got here.
Wow. Okay, so I grew up in Hayward, born and raised, and my dad started out as a motorcycle cop on a 7-man department. And when he retired 33 years later, he was the chief of a 120-man sworn department.
Wow.
So and my wife's family is 5 generations fire service. My dad, 3rd generation police. So I've literally got public safety and public service in my blood.
You're baked in, yeah.
Our nephew just got hired on as a firefighter in Denver.
Oh, congratulations.
So he's the 5th generation. But started out, as I said, I went to school in Hayward, got my degree at Cal State Hayward, and I can say that I am the mayor of Livermore because I taught chess to 4th graders at the Hayward Library. My first real job was at the Hayward Library, and that was during the Boris Spassky, Bobby Fischer era.
I remember that.
And if you remember, Rocky III really drew upon that because it was the champion of Russia versus the champion of America.
I remember, yeah.
Well, that started out as a chess match. Well, there was so much interest that I started my own chess club. So I taught chess to these kids. And when I graduated from college and was applying for my first job, after college, one of the questions they asked, do you have any teaching experience? Well, yeah, I taught chess to 4th graders. Yep. Well, that got me my first job at the Point Melody Marine Lab, which was an estuarine ecology lab, which then got me my job at the City of Hayward wastewater plant, which then got me my job at the Alameda County Water District, which got me elected to the Zone 7 Water Board, which got me elected to the City Council and a mayor. So
wow,
so it's a straight line.
Yeah.
But as I tell young people when I'm talking to them, I write an equation on the board that is luck equals skills plus opportunity.
Yeah.
And if you have the right skills, when the opportunity presents itself, you can create your own luck. So I encourage everybody to get as many skills as you possibly can, because you never know when you can tap onto that skill set, and the exact skills that somebody needs to get something done are the skills that you have.
Right. You're just exactly right. Yeah. And we talk in music sometimes about people who make it big in the industry, and people say, well, they got a lucky break, or they were just in the right place at the right time. And that's not it at all. They're in a million places at a million times with skills, and one of those happens to be the right one that give them the big break. But you're just exactly right about
Harrison Ford doing the carpentry work on Tony Orlando's home.
Right, yeah.
And just that skill set got him into the right place.
Right, yeah, exactly right. And another example of the butterfly wing flaps that we were talking about. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, I have 2 sons. They both live in the area. They both graduated from Livermore from Granada High, Livermore schools, but both graduated from Granada High. One is in the medical profession, and the other one is works with providing construction materials. So they're both on their own, so that's a good thing. My wife and I have been married. We just celebrated our 41st year, our 41st anniversary. I thank God every day that she said yes when I asked her. And she just retired as a school teacher from the Livermore School District, and she is also an artist. You've no doubt seen her work.
Well, I have to tell an anecdote here. So I have two granddaughters. They're both 1.5 and 3 years old. And so we often go for walks in a stroller around our neighborhood. And down our street and around the corner, there's this big electrical box that has this beautiful mural painted on it. And both the granddaughters get so excited when we come to that box. But, they see the cat, and we go and we talk and we pet the cat. We see the butterfly. We talk to the raccoons. I mean, they know that box, and they love going on a walk past that. And the artist's name is painted in very small print in one corner of it, and it happens to be Marchand.
That's my wife.
Which I assume is your wife, yeah.
And so there's a wonderful story behind that, because the dog that faces Jack London is Lawrence.
Lawrence, yeah.
The Livermore Lab. And Lawrence was a therapy dog for the veterans at the VA hospital. He spent over 1,000 hours serving the veterans as a therapy dog. And so when Lawrence passed away, Pat Wheeler, his owner, asked Sue to do this utility box. So the dog on the that's perpendicular. So Lawrence is in the front,
right,
and then Alfred is in the back.
Yep.
He's one of Pat's other dogs. There's also Thunder and Buster,
right,
and those are two therapy dogs as well. And then Gatsby, which is the dog with the raccoon. That was our dog. He passed away last year.
Oh, sorry.
He was my therapy dog.
Yeah.
And the cat was Tiger. That's our cat as well.
Wow, that's what a great story.
So those were all therapy animals on that box. She also painted the purple iris at the flagpole.
Yes, yeah.
That's another one. And she also did the roses across from the Hanson Rose Garden and the sunflowers right at the Arroyo Crossing.
Well, those things are fantastic. And
it reduces graffiti, and it brightens the downtown.
And it just brings, I know it's brought joy to my granddaughters, but I'm sure it's brought joy to, countless others that have passed by and just seen those wonderful paintings.
It's fun. It's just something that's fun. Art should be something that people can appreciate as part of their everyday lives.
Right.
Whether it's visual art, music, anything, it enriches our lives. So one of the things that I've tried to do is to ensure that we can incorporate that in people's everyday life experience.
Yeah, which is a good segue to getting to talk a little bit about your career now and the things that you've done so you've been involved in Livermore, formally involved in Livermore city government for how long? A long time.
Well, okay, so I've been on the city council for 15 years, and I was on the Zone 7 Water Board,
right,
which ensured the drinking water quality for the region, that was for another 15 years. Now, as I said, I spent my career as a chemist overseeing the water quality for Fremont, Newark, and Union City. And then I tested the water here and saw that there were improvements that could be made to the water quality here. So I got elected to the Zone 7 Water Board. And in the course of several months, we changed the way the water was treated. And it resulted in improved water quality for everybody in Livermore, Pleasanton, and Dublin.
Right.
So actually, the two water agencies that I worked for, the Alameda County Water District and the Zone 7 Water Agency, one as a chemist, one as a board member, those two utilities were recognized as two of the top 10 in the nation. Out of 161,000, those were two in the top 10 in the country.
In terms of water quality.
Water quality, water improvements, water reliability.
Yeah.
So something I was very proud of, that I could be part of that. Because water is the most fundamental compound for life to exist. Life can exist without light, and it exists without oxygen. It cannot exist without water.
Right, yeah. I want to segue a little bit. Oh no, I'm sorry. But so that was how you got into the water district. But at some point, you decided to get more involved with the city council, and then you were vice mayor. You started as vice mayor in.
Well, so it was in 2005. Party Homes was trying to put forth an initiative that would have broken our urban growth boundary. Now, as you know, that's something that's very precious to everyone here. and that's an initiative that I worked on in 2002 to create this urban growth boundary. And that's why our hills are protected. That's why our vineyards are protected, is it takes the development pressure off of the land and ensures that there's a viable economic incentive to keep those vineyard lands as vineyards. Right. So in 2005, Party Homes tried to bring in an initiative to break that urban growth boundary. And I realized that I needed to run for the city council, or we were going to lose the council and lose the urban growth boundary. So that's what motivated me in 2005 to run for the council. When our mayor termed out in 2011, I realized that I needed to run for mayor because, once again, there was no one that had the skill set that was necessary to move Livermore ahead where we needed to be. Yeah. So once again, I looked around and thought, well, it's got to be me. Yeah. So I was fortunate that I could step up. At that point,
we were all fortunate you could step up.
Well, thank you. But at that point, I realized that if I was going to be mayor, I needed to do that full time. Now, it doesn't pay full time, but it's a full-time job. And I chose to retire from my full-time job and take upon the mayorship as a full-time job. And we've been able to do some remarkable things in this community. There are promises that were made over 50 years ago, which are finally getting done. And you're seeing it right now. Stockman's Park was a promise that was made 57 years ago. And it will be completed this year.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
We're getting out of that triple wide trailer that we've been in for the last 30 years, and we'll be moving into an emergency operations center and a council chamber that is really worthy of this community to conduct their business with the city of Livermore.
Those are all such fantastic things. The Emergency Operations Center, by the way, is something near and dear to my heart. I was one of the lab's emergency duty operators officers for a long time at the lab. And the importance of a facility that can manage that, once every 2 years, once every 10 years, major emergency, the difference between having that facility and not can be the difference between lives, property, money, and your ability to manage it. So to me, the fact that Livermore finally got that up and operational is a huge, big deal.
One of my most previous vice mayor, Bob Carling, who was the director for the combustion research facility, I think said it best. He said that he's worked with emergency operations centers, and that he said Livermore doesn't have an emergency operations center. We have a room that we call an emergency operations center. Right. And that's true. When people would ask me, well, why do we need an EOC? Because we haven't needed one for 150 years. And my response was, there's a lot more to fall down and burn up than there was 150 years ago. Yes. And in 4 words, Napa, Santa Rosa, Paradise. That's why you need an emergency operations center, is because if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Yeah. And if we don't need the EOC for a couple of years, it's not that big of a thing. But if we have an emergency and we don't have it and people die, people will never forgive us.
For not having it, right?
Right.
No, you're exactly
we need
right.
to be prepared, and this gives us the tools that we need to accomplish those goals. And one of the things that I've always done, when I got elected mayor, I met with all my department heads, and I said, it's my job to get you the tools that you need to do your job. It's your job to tell me what those tools are.
Yeah, what you need, right? That's excellent. Hey, I'm gonna change gears a little bit. We're going to come back and talk more about the city in a second, but I'll tell a quick story here. So I was having some email interactions with you as we were getting this set up. And by the way, before I forget, a big shout out to Mary Ann. Thank her so much for putting me in touch with you and for smoothing the way to getting this to happen. That's fantastic. And at some point I sent an email to you and I said, this is kind of what we're going to do. Somewhere in there, we'll ask you about your musical ties and we'll talk about the city. And
I didn't wear a musical tie, by the way.
So the mayor wrote back and he said, well, I don't have any musical ties, but I have a Jerry Garcia tie. And I called Kevin up and I said, okay, this is going to be a good guest, right? Because that's kind of my joke. But let's talk about your musical ties a little bit. Do you happen to play any instruments?
I do not.
Okay.
I played recorder for a while. I was sort of fiddling around with that. I whistle. That's about the extent of my musical talent. I can whistle Bach inventions, but we won't do that. But my older son is quite an accomplished guitarist. He has had a couple of bands. They've produced several CDs. He had a band called Aftershocker, which just some amazing guitar work. But it was a great band, and we had a lot of fun with that. And he still plays. But it's just the question of how much time you've got. But
well, you sound like you, if you don't play an instrument, but that you enjoy listening to music. It sounds like you know classical music. And do you get a chance to go out and do you go to concerts, opera?
Yes. So one of the fun things that I've done is I've actually been on the Bankhead stage a couple dozen times. I was in the Nutcracker, dancing in the Nutcracker. I was in 2 operas. I was in Deflator Mouse and Carmen.
Wow.
I was in the world premiere of Caliendo's Hobbit Suites, where I was narrating as Gandalf. It's a great photo.
Yeah.
I met my wife in musical theater. And in fact, in front of the Bankhead's theater, there's a brick that is an incantation from the first play that I did in the acting company where I met my wife. And the incantation is "Nonus mercatum similis theatralis," which is Latin for "there's no business like show business."
Excellent.
And so been to a lot of concerts at the Bankhead with some amazing talent that comes in there. I used to have to go to San Francisco to see George Winston.
Right.
Otmar Liebert, the finest flamenco guitarist, the biggest selling flamenco guitarist of all time, was at the Bankhead. Jake Shimabukuro, the ukulele player, phenomenal. We have some tremendous talent.
No, you're
there.
absolutely right. I mean, that's the thing. We tend to focus on this show more on the local bands that play in local venues, but we don't forget, and it's certainly represented on the LivermoreLiveMusic.com website, the musical acts that come to the Bankhead and also to the concerts at Wente, which are also big deals. But we've seen both. We've gone together. We've gone with our wives. We've seen some.
Mark Cohn.
Oh yeah.
Rocket
in Memphis.
Dave Mason. Yeah.
Roger McGuinn, Keiko Matsui.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible musical acts that are here and available as part of the live music scene here in Livermore. Yeah.
Well, and then you talk about local. One of the recent concerts that I went to locally here was Love Livermore Live. And that was sort of the Darcy Kent bottle rock, where we had some phenomenal talent.
Yeah.
We had Night Harvest with Jim Hurley, Lucas Sanchez, which is fun because Lucas Sanchez was in my wife's elementary school class.
Excellent.
And they fast friends. We have Meredith McHenry. We had the Midnights.
Yes.
Of course, Crawdad Republic. So we've got, and what an amazing venue that is. And the fact that we've got so many wonderful venues here. You've got, the Tuesday Tunes are coming up again for the summer in front of the Shea Plaza at the Bankhead Theater. So the groups that come into Blacksmith Square and all these wonderful, small, homegrown opportunities that we have for live music. It just goes back to making the arts part of your everyday life.
Right. And it also corresponds, so we'll move back to Livermore and the growth of Livermore. And, of course, the city and its businesses and its enterprises are the important thing, but I'll weave into this as we go along. It corresponds to the renaissance or the resurgence of live music in Livermore. The two things go hand in hand. There's more opportunities for businesses to create venues for music to be played because we have more restaurants, places like Blacksmith Square and Shea Plaza and so forth. But maybe talk a little bit about, you've been so involved in the downtown renovation that started in the early 2000s through your tenure as vice mayor and mayor. Talk a little bit about that and like some of the things that you're proudest of that we've achieved.
Well, one of the biggest things, which was really the beginning of this whole renaissance, was getting Highway 84 out of the downtown. For folks that moved here fairly recently, within the last 15 years, they don't remember that every 2 minutes, a double trailer gravel truck rumbled through the middle of our downtown. And that was because it was Highway 84. So there was this long concerted effort to move Highway 4 out of the downtown. It now bypasses and goes down the Isabel Expressway, so it can connect to Highway 84, Vallecillos Road, and ultimately 680. But getting that off of the downtown really cannot be understated as the beginning of the renaissance for the downtown. It was then that we were able to bring in the Bankhead Theater. We were able to narrow the First Street. So it widened the sidewalks and gave us room to be able to put in the outdoor dining at Strizzi's and at the Dimitri's. First Street Ale House, what a tremendous success.
Right. All up and down that section of First Street, all those wonderful indoor and outdoor venues
it was absolutely transformative.
Right.
Because I've got a photograph that was taken about 15 years ago on a Friday night, 6 o'clock of downtown, just this side of Bruno's. And you could fire a cannon down First Street and you wouldn't anything.
Right.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
But now, at a Wednesday afternoon, the downtown is just absolutely vibrant.
Yes.
Because everybody wants to be there. It's a wonderful gathering place.
You're absolutely right. And for us, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturday evenings are just fantastic to walk around because there's so much live music going on. You can just duck in and out of places. It's not New Orleans. It's not Bourbon Street. But it's that with a Livermore, slipcover on it. That is just, fantastic. And it's because everybody wants to be there. You can feel the energy.
It's just that this vibrant life energy that we have down there. And as you said, there these little small venues that you can pop into. Revolution, which used to be the it was Sanctuary.
Right.
All these really cool places.
The Last Word.
Panama Red.
Yeah, right.
All these great little places where people can just come in and play music, and it just adds to our quality of life.
I absolutely agree. We started this website a couple years ago for various reasons, but we were certainly aware of the live music scene in Livermore and how it had grown by leaps and bounds over the last few years. But even we were surprised once we got it together and were able to look at and catalog all the music was going on. Just what an incredible and fairly sizable live music scene we've got in Livermore. There were over from March of last year through December, which is the latest that I've collated all the numbers, on average over 150 gigs a month. That means that 150 times a month there was a band at a winery or a brewery or a restaurant or Blacksmith Square or wherever out there playing typically 3 hours. Most of those gigs are free. Some of them were paid gigs at Bankhead or other places. But even we were surprised by
I was
by how much
the volume, the sheer volume of the.
We've got a guy called the Singing Winemaker out on Tesla Road, and you've got now you have the Acoustic Lounge out at Darcy Kent,
right. Yes.
And there's music up at McGrail's, and there's all these great opportunities where people can. And what's better than to have something good to eat, kick back with a glass of wine, and listen to any range of music.
Right.
And we've got it. We've got a tremendous depth and breadth. And as you mentioned, my music tastes are very eclectic. I have a strong appreciation for classical, whether it's Bach or Telemann or Vivaldi. We had Bach played at our wedding, but at my wife and my second date, we went to the California Palace of the Legion of Honor for a performance of Johann Sebastian Bach.
Nice.
So, and then last couple months ago, I went to see ZZ Top and Leonard Skinner. So, got a whole wide range, and we can get all of that right here.
Yeah, and we've commented on this show about that many times, about the range from a single guitar player in a coffee shop through, many of the dozens of excellent local bands that play at dozens of venues around here, to national and internationally known acts that come to the Bankhead and to the concerts in Wente. So we've got this spectrum that's just, I think it's unique.
What was a real revelation for me, I saw G3 a couple years ago, and to hear Yngwie Malmsteen launch into Toccata and Fugue by D minor was just jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
It was just, it was seeing that classical piece of music in a completely different light, but it shows how timeless music is.
Yeah.
That you've got a long hair like Malmsteen shredding the Toccata and Fugue in D minor and making it work.
Exactly.
It was you got chills. It was breathtaking.
Yeah.
And he's got the chops for it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
He's really good.
And the beat goes on, right? I mean, we started that. I didn't have that much to do with it. You had far more than I did. But the city started this and has supported this renovation of the downtown. It's going on decades now. And we're at another crossroads. We're at another important plateau in the grand plan for what we'd like Livermore to be in a controlled way. Let's talk a little bit about
planned way. Not necessarily controlled, but certainly well planned.
Right.
Because we're not the puppet masters. We're this downtown process that we have. That was something that we undertook years ago. Mm-hmm. I was actually part of the General Plan Review Committee in 2004, which is when we started this downtown specific plan. Mm-hmm. And it's been this ongoing process as this has been planned. And every step along the way, there's been a tremendous amount of public input, a lot of outreach. This most recent effort, we had, let me just back up a little bit. It's interesting. You mentioned Measure P, and as we're moving ahead with that, there's all this sudden controversy about where the hotel is going to go. Mm-hmm. Well, in 2004, when the downtown plan was initialized, they knew where the bankhead was going to be. And if you look at the west wall of the bankhead, you'll see that it's not all brick. It's stucco. And why would you use two different building materials? Well, it's because when they built the bankhead, they knew that that's where the hotel was going to go. Uh-huh. It was going to go on the west side of the bankhead, and that's why they put the stucco, because they knew it was going to be covered up. They didn't need to have all the expensive brick.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So they went with stucco because they knew that's where the hotel was going to go.
Right.
So when we rebooted the downtown plan, we appointed a 19-member stakeholder committee, and we allowed each stakeholder to appoint their own representative. Mm-hmm. So after months of input, months of public input and comment from thousands of Livermore residents, there was universal agreement from all 19 members. And LB PAC was on there, the Heritage Guild, all these stakeholders, the Stockman's Association, Downtown Inc., residents. So all these groups unanimously agreed that the hotel had to have an iconic presence on South Livermore Avenue. Mm-hmm. And this is where we've continued to focus, is putting that on South Livermore Avenue. Now, there was some discussion on whether it was on the west side or the east side, but there was unanimous agreement that it had to be on South Livermore Avenue. Mm-hmm. Now, the number one priority we had for the downtown was more parking. Okay. Got it. Mm-hmm. Number two priority was the preservation of the town character. And the way we saw that, especially even that catalyst site, was Blacksmith Square. Right. And which started out as a blacksmith shop, then went to a muffler shop, just dealing with a different kind of horsepower. Yeah, right. And
we actually did a show on Blacksmith Square a while back where we talked about that very transition. Yeah,
just different horsepower. Right. And in fact, my son, the guitar player, got the muffler for his '76 Ranchero there.
Yeah, my '69 Ford pickup got a new manifold.
There you go. So, but one of the concerns that we had was to protect the town character. We realized that, well, first off, there was a group that wanted Blacksmith Square taken out and replaced with this West Side Hotel. Mm-hmm. We realized that wasn't going to work because people liked Blacksmith Square. Then the idea of putting a 4-story hotel overshadowing Blacksmith Square, well, that wouldn't work either. Mm-hmm. So in order to keep all the different priorities together, we realized that we really needed to put the hotel where it was originally planned, on the east side of South Livermore.
Understand.
Well, suddenly now this small group that didn't get what they wanted has corrupted that narrative into, well, yes, everybody wanted it on South Livermore Avenue, But since they wanted it on the west side of South Livermore, now it should be put on the east side of L Street on Railroad, which makes no sense. It flies in the face of what we heard from the community, that the community believed whether east side or west side, it had to be on South Livermore Avenue. East of L Street does not meet that requirement.
Right.
South of Railroad doesn't meet it.
Well, back us up a little bit and walk us through Measure P specifically. So what is Measure P? What does a yes vote mean? And what does a no vote mean as far as Measure P is concerned?
Okay, great. So a yes vote on Measure P affirms the council decision to put the hotel where we heard the vast majority of residents of Livermore. We heard from thousands of residents. A yes on P affirms the council decision to enter into a development agreement with a hotelier to put the hotel on South Livermore Avenue where everybody wanted it.
Yeah, and you've got an established hotelier that has got the resources and the technical know-how to make that happen.
Right. A no vote prevents that from happening. It automatically sets up at least another year's delay until November, where there's a vote on rezoning the downtown. But because this 118-page initiative is so vague, it's going to require a whole new series of workshops and public input to start placing these items, because it just rezones the downtown. It doesn't actually.
How is that going to
anything.
affect the time frame?
The best guesstimate that I've seen is about 5 years. About 5 years of delay.
If P fails.
If P fails and if this initiative passes, it's about a 5-year delay before everything gets sorted out. If you don't factor in the lawsuits, but the initiative is 118 pages. As I said, it's very vague. The referendum, and this is, I've seen a lot of misleading ads that thousands of people voted to put this on the ballot, but no one read the 58-page referendum before they signed it.
They're walking out of Walmart or Target or whatever. Yeah.
And what people were being told is sign here for a larger park. Well, in the 58 pages of the referendum, the word park is not mentioned once because it's not about a park. And the signature gatherers, and I talked to a lot of them, they actually violated state law. They were paid signature gatherers that were not from around town. In fact, a lot of them came up to me and said, well, you know why the mayor's corrupt? And I said, I'm the mayor.
Yeah.
So you're getting off on the wrong.
Yeah. Right.
But so they were told that it was about a large park. And
the paid signature gatherers were told that.
Right. And the fact of the matter was people were deceived because this referendum has nothing to do with a park. It has everything to do with a development agreement for a hotel where the residents of Livermore wanted to put the hotel.
Right.
Well, this is why this narrative was deliberately corrupted, is because this small handful of people isn't getting what they want.
Yeah.
And so the only way to do that was to lie to the voters and to get this thing on the ballot. Well, now we're seeing a continued litany of misinformation. The yes signs are being vandalized. Hundreds of them have been stolen and cut up.
Unbelievable, yeah.
They've been cut up. In 30 years of politics in Livermore, I have never seen the violence that's happened. These signs are being cut up. They're being crushed, tossed into the bushes.
Right.
I've never seen this level of vitriol before.
Yeah.
And what I want is a fair and open election. So let's get, if they're honest and they say compare and decide, then be honest with the information so that everybody can look at all the information and compare and decide.
Right.
There was a phenomenal revelation at the last council meeting where it was revealed that this imaginary hotel that they have in their drawing and no hotelier has been identified.
Yeah.
One of the founders of this drawing admitted that there is no on-site parking, even though people are being promised that it's more convenient.
Right.
There is no parking, and they revealed that it is expected that the city will have to build the parking and subsidize it. That the hotelier will not do that. They're not going to build their own parking. They're going to require the city to build it and subsidize it. They even came up with a price for it, a lease agreement that doesn't take into account what it actually costs the city, but this group has already negotiated a price per parking space.
Amazing, yeah.
And who elected them? We're elected. We undertook a months-long process to hear from thousands of residents. So Measure P affirms the council decision to put the hotel where we heard from thousands of residents that that's where they want it.
Right.
The no has been put there by people that have misled the public into believing this is about a park. It is not. It's about affirming a decision on a hotel in the downtown where we heard from thousands of people.
Right.
That's the right place for it. Hotel experts, the executive director of the Bankhead Theater all agreed this is where the hotel has to go.
Well, we've talked to, so Kevin and I play in a lot of the venues downtown from time to time. And this is always a topic of discussion. And to a person, the businesses downtown want Measure P to pass. They want to move on with what they've been promised for years. And also another thing that comes up in those conversations is there's other things that will follow after the hotel. There's the expansion of Blacksmith Square. There's the Black Box Theater, the Science Center, other things that are part of the overall renovation plan. If Measure P passes, then those things are going to move forward. If Measure P fails, then it's all back to square zero, and a lot of promises are going to get broken. So as far as I know, the vast majority of the business owners who contribute to the vibrancy of the city that we were just talking about, they want to get on with it. The park, any plan that you or me or anyone would come up with is not going to give everybody everything they want. That's impossible. But we live in a society where you gather information and then you have a majority vote and then you move forward on that. And I for one, hope that that's the way that it plays out.
Well, so do I. And this is something that we did hear from thousands of residents, and we looked at all the different options, and we gathered input based on what were the important priorities. We weren't asking people to design their own, because we would have had several thousand designs.
Of course, yeah.
But
what were the features
we
that they
understood
wanted,
what the key elements were, what the most important elements were, and how do you balance all those out. As for example, if you're told to go down and get a red sports car, but you realize that you got to put 4 kids in the car and the camping equipment.
Right.
Well, this is maybe what you wanted was the 2-seater.
You thought you wanted, yeah.
But on the other hand, is what you take all your competing priorities, and maybe you don't get the red sports car, but you get a red van.
Right.
So you take all those priorities. That's why the council is elected to make the land use decisions. Is we go through the thousands of pages of documentation and the planning, and we have the experts that work all this out, that do the traffic studies, the financial studies, and then we come up with the decision, because ultimately we have to make it work.
Right. And I don't want to get into this too much. It starts to get into politics. It's not our job here. But I will comment, the last city council election that we had was a bit of a referendum on this, in the sense that there were people on the council who, were proponents of certain things, and there were people running against them who were proponents of more like what's evolving now. And there was an overwhelming message from the community as a result of that city council election about who we wanted to represent us to manage those details and move it forward in the way that we wanted it to.
Exactly. Vice Mayor Warner got more votes than the other candidates combined.
Right, because he'd made it clear how he felt about some of the aspects and features of the renovation.
And the community understood that. I mean, I garnered over 70% of the votes, because people understood that we've worked on this a long time. We heard people want more parking in the downtown, and we're moving ahead with this. we're making beautiful progress on Blacksmith Square. That is going to be a jewel.
Yeah.
We're working on Livermore Plaza. We'll start construction on that later this year. That's something that I'm very, very proud of because that's going to show the link between Livermore and the world science community and bringing the community together once again in our beautiful downtown, our beautiful award-winning downtown. Our downtown is voted the #1 downtown in the East Bay.
Yeah, and for good reason. And to bring it back to a slightly more parochial concern on our part, certainly I envision in my head what it's going to look like when we have that boutique hotel across the street from the expanded Blacksmith Square. And there's already this incredible music environment that goes on at Blacksmith year round. And now all of a sudden you have more visitors from out of town who have more space to come and see more music in a bigger venue, and also who will walk up and down, the downtown and find all the other venues. And, it's been somewhat, with Kevin and I have talked about this so many times, both privately and on this show. But, it's somewhat aspirational, but we would like to see Livermore become a legitimate music destination. One of our guests recently used the phrase, the Austin of wine country.
Yeah.
I like that phrase.
I like
and
that.
It's not just talk. I mean, it exists as we speak. I mean, there's this incredible music scene. And then I think about what that would look like with the hotel and Blacksmith Square. I mean, it would mean tremendous things for all the businesses downtown and for Livermore as a magnet to attract visitors. But for our aspirations of continuing to support and encourage the live music scene we've got going on here, to me, it's a match made in heaven.
Well, for example, when we opened the Bankhead Theater, Bernadette Peters opened the theater.
Right.
What a great show. I mean, she's such a professional. But she stayed at the Rose Hotel in Pleasanton. There wasn't a place for her here. And to have something where you have the artists coming in, staying at the hotel, performing at the Bankhead, Tuesday tunes at the Shea Plaza in front of the Bankhead, walking across the street to the Blacksmith Square, walking downtown to get something to eat. I mean, just this wonderful, vibrant community.
I know, it's just incredible, right? Yeah.
No, it's great. No, it's very exciting.
Yeah, we're really excited too. And as our guest from Blacksmith Square said the last time we did a show, people just want it resolved. They just want to get on with the plan. And so we'll keep our fingers crossed. I think the voters in Livermore are pretty smart. I think good things are going to happen, and there we'll go.
Well, get the word out and get onto your social media.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you're here.
That's right. Well, great. We'll appreciate that.
One other reason you're here is we have to stop and take a short break here, and we're going to play Bad Joke Pass Around. So
Okay.
I have the official Livermore Live Music Bad Joke Pass Around hat.
I actually have a
Do you?
bad
Then
joke
we will,
if you want. I don't need one.
You don't need one. Go. Yeah.
Okay, so, we've talked about Carmel,
Yes.
and that's one of my wife and my favorite places on earth. And so just south of Carmel is the Carmelite Monastery, right across from Monastery Beach. And so we toured that recently. You could actually get up in there. And so we're walking through, so we saw one of the residents there, and he was cutting thinly sliced potatoes into hot oil. And I asked him, so are you the friar? And he says, no, I'm the chipmunk.
So excellent. And it
Back to your
ties
joke.
back to- And so,
Okay.
Kevin,
I'm not going to.
he can't compete with that.
Yeah. So I'm going to choose one. Is it crazy how saying sentences backwards creates backwards sentences saying how crazy it is?
There you go.
Oh, wow. That's quite impressive.
That's
Did you do this yourself?
Palindromic sentence. No, I wish I was that clever, but I'm
That's
not.
good.
And I'm also not going to draw because now you prompted me to tell the following. So at that very same monastery about 200 years ago, the rule used to be that the monks weren't allowed to talk at all, except once a day when they were all sitting down at breakfast, the head monk would come down the stairs and he would chant to everyone, "Good morning," and all the monks would chant back, "Good morning." So one day, the head monk comes down the stairs and he chants, "Good morning," and all the monks chant back, "Good morning," except one heretic who chanted back, "Good evening." The room went quiet. You could hear a pin drop. The head monk looks around. He says, "Someone chanted evening."
Where's my soundboard?
Yeah, trying to tie the music and the bad jokes together. Hey, let's segue a little bit about plans for the future. We've talked a lot about the city of Livermore, but what are your plans for the future? And then also, what do you see for the for the city, looking over the horizon a little bit?
Well, been working on Valley Link, connecting the jobs and housing. We've got a lot of jobs in Silicon Valley. There's a lot of housing in San Joaquin Valley. How do we connect those and free up the traffic on 580?
Yeah.
I was in Washington, D.C. last week, meeting with our congressional representatives and the Department of Transportation about how we make these connections. Linking transit, housing, jobs is going to be absolutely critical to the quality of life here. I see the quality of life in Livermore. We've got to keep working to make it better and keep this an amazing place to live. Continue to make the downtown more vibrant. We've got some wonderful plans in place. We just need to keep that momentum going.
Right.
And I see that within the next couple of years, the downtown is going to be just an amazing gathering space. We've got 2 parks coming in. We have Stockman Park will be completed this year. Veterans Park will be completed in probably another 3 years. Just a place where this community can come together and celebrate together rather than this never-ending battle.
Right.
We did hear from the people, and we're moving ahead with what the people wanted, what they told us they wanted. So I'm very excited about that. As far as my future specifically, as you know, I term out at the end of this year. And for the last 30 years, every step along the way was laid out for me because there was a need for my particular skill set. And that's where I stepped up to serve. I'm waiting to see what next enterprise or next effort is going to require my skill set. And I haven't seen it just yet, but I got another 11 months to find it.
Okay.
And I'm not done with public service by a long shot. Public service is tremendously rewarding. I love it. I serve this community because I love it, and I love the community because I serve it.
Yeah.
We started our Helping Hands with the LDS Church. Our Community Service Council works with 8 other, actually I think we're up to 10 different churches now, multi-denominations, whether it's the Hindu temple, the Syriac, Eastern Orthodox. We've got such a wealth of communities within our city that want to serve this community. So it's bringing all that goodwill together. For me, is very exciting.
Wow.
So there's going to be a lot of great things going on, and I think to motivate people to step up and serve, I think that in the words of Rabindranath Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore said that I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy.
Yeah.
And I think for everybody to recognize that the joy in service, it just makes our community better. Over 90, we do a citizen survey every couple of years after an election, and 94% of the people thought that Livermore is a great place to live and raise a family. It's a lot of folks.
That's a lot of people.
You can't get 94% of the people to agree the sky is blue.
Right.
And what I thought was even more remarkable is that over 50% of the people that responded contribute their time. The most valuable thing that they have, they contribute time back to the community.
And that's an important thing to comment on too. It's so easy to get a little bit frustrated by things that are going on both in Livermore and nationally and internationally, and there is. But it's also important to just celebrate and recognize how many people are like that. They do contribute. They do kind deeds for one another, or they give their time in various ways to various things. People are fundamentally good, and there's a lot of good things that come out of that. By the way, I don't know what life will present to you as your path moves on, but if you ever want to take piano lessons and maybe find a seat as a second keyboard player in a band, we'd be interested in talking.
I appreciate
to you.
that.
Hey,
you don't need a vocalist, huh?
No, actually, we could use another vocalist.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll talk. Yeah.
Now, if I could only sing.
But you can whistle, I heard.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I had to replace my whistle with a kazoo because I couldn't whistle.
There's
I have a kazoo.
There's a story there. Hey, real quick, we'd like to do a tips and tricks thing about Livermore Live Music. So quickly, I just want to mention to people, I think most of our audience knows, but if you don't, in addition to the website, livermorelivemusic.com, we have a Facebook page, surprisingly called Livermore Live Music. So if you're not a member of that, get on and join. We don't talk about gigs there. If you want to know about gigs, go to the website. But we trade notes about bands, we talk about music, we talk about opportunities that are coming up, and it's really an interesting and vibrant place. So if you're not on Livermore Live Music Facebook page, get on there and
you should
join the
also
conversation.
mention the Twitter.
Right,
we're also on Twitter
and Instagram. Yes.
Instagram.
Yeah. So and again, both of them called Livermore Live Music, and a lot of good information gets exchanged
and YouTube.
there. So yeah, right.
If
And
you're
YouTube.
watching
Yeah.
this.
Last word. Anything else that you wanted to talk about, put on the table? Questions we should have asked you? Shout outs to anybody that either in the city or in your family that you just want to say hi to or give nod of gratitude to?
Well, certainly my family. That I can't do what I do without having their support. But I get to work with some amazing professionals. The staff at the City of Livermore, I am so gratified to work with such an amazing group of professionals that truly serve this community. And there's a tremendous amount of cynicism out there, but it is really gratifying to be able to work with people that love this community, that serve this community, and continue to work very, very hard to make this community the amazing place that it is. Right. It doesn't happen by accident. It's from people that are passionate about what they do.
Exactly.
We get great music because of people that are passionate about music. There are people that are passionate about good planning and to ensure that the city succeeds and is all it can be. Right. And we support the businesses because when the businesses succeed, the community succeeds. And that's why we all have to work together to make this happen. And that's where it's very gratifying. That's why I love what I do.
Yeah, that's the key thing. It doesn't happen by itself. It's already a fantastic place. It's getting more fantastic every day. That's not an accident.
That's right.
Back to the election. When is it?
Okay, it's March 3rd. March 3rd. Actually, it started out right now already because the ballots have already been mailed. So, and remarkably, 70% of Livermore votes by mail. So you look in your mailbox right now. Your ballots are probably there. You can vote. Starting right now. Get the word out. But we want to hear from people. Livermore is a very engaged community. I changed the election date from odd years to even years because I wanted more turnout. In 2011, our voter turnout was 68%. In 2018, our voter turnout, self-reported in our citizen survey, was 92%.
Right, yeah.
So we have a tremendous voter turnout, but people can start voting right now. I think the ballots are in the mailboxes. Get the word out, get out there.
And just to state
vote.
the obvious, and get your ballot in by March 3rd.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can, if you're not registered yet, you can still register up until I think February 18th. You can register. If you're not registered, you can still go into your polling place and on-site register and vote. It'll be provisional, but you can still vote.
Right.
You can go down to the Registrar of Voters in Oakland and vote. But the important thing is get out there and vote.
Right. It's always important to get your voice heard. It does matter. It's important, and especially on Measure P this time around. We want there to be a convincing statement from the informed electorate of Livermore about what they want, so that once and for all we can answer the question and move on.
Yeah. If you want, be an informed voter. So read it.
Yes.
Read. If nothing else, read the ballot arguments. And then if you're really hardcore, you can actually read the referendum itself,
right.
Read the initiative, and educate yourself and find out what the facts are. Just don't believe what you're hearing from other people.
All by itself.
Research
Right.
yourself.
Get your own
I'm a
research.
chemist. You're a scientist too.
Yes.
We research on our own and draw our own conclusions.
And we tend not to accept authority as the reason why something is true. We want to go find it out for ourselves.
Empirical evidence.
Exactly right. Hey, thank you so much for.
I got one more shout out.
Please,
I was remiss about shouting out Cal State East Bay.
That's right.
Because
Cal State Hayward.
Well, at the time,
I went to Cal State Hayward.
Cal State Hayward. But the reason I wanted to bring it up was I told my daughter that I would bring it up. She graduated with a degree in geology.
Oh, very good.
Just last
Last
year,
year.
yes, yeah.
Just
Oh,
last
excellent.
year. So I just wanted to shout out.
Absolutely.
Well,
Cal
one of my
State
longtime political allies, Jay Zuka,
I know
was a
Joe well.
hydrogeologist at Lawrence Livermore Lab.
Oh, I know Jay well, yeah.
Yeah. Avid rock climber.
Yes,
You guys,
yeah.
guys, I can forget how many times
Also
he's
a
gone
great
up
sense of
El
humor.
Cap.
He's a funny guy.
But no, he's a great guy as well.
Yeah.
And there's an earlier question about the best concert that I ever attended.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Way back, I think it was hard to beat the experience of the Days on the Green. Yeah, the Bill Graham Days on the Green.
Yeah.
Just something about being out there, warm summer afternoons. It was just a great place to be.
Just a vibe to it, yeah.
Yeah, it was a wonderful, that's it. It was the vibe. Everybody just hanging out there just to have a really, really good time, enjoy some really good music. The Days on the Green and the Rolling Stones Voodoo Lounge Tour.
Yeah, there you go.
Voodoo Lounge Tour was just epic.
Yeah, amen. Again, thank you so much for being here. And on a personal note, thank you for all you've done in service to
Yes,
this community.
I agree.
For your entire career. I mean, that's really remarkable. And if people don't know anything about it, they should Google you and find out, the wonderful things that you've done to provide a rudder to this community through all the years. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much as well.
We want to thank Advanced Creative and
you,
Doug and
guys.
John so much, as always, for having us here. We just can't say thank you enough. We appreciate so much everything you do for us. Livermore is a fantastic place for a lot of things, but one of them is live music. So, if you're not checking it out, go to livermorelivemusic.com, find a band, find a venue, go see some live music. You won't be disappointed. Thanks so much. See you next time.
Thank you.